Welcome back to the 2016 Causeway Scrabble Challenge here in Johor Bahru, Malaysia.
My name is Jesse Matthews. Chris May will be back in the studio here shortly, but at the moment I am flying solo.
As we have a rematch between Nigel Richards and Mark Nyman. They've already played 6 times, and they're going to be playing for a 7th on our last game before lunch. Certainly several interesting moves last game that generated a lot of discussion. Okta absolutely brilliant in the endgame to give Nigel an unblockable, huge play to take the win at the end. The other plays generating discussion in that game were Quays from Nigel, and then the choice between Licensor and Lionizer on the top row as a late bonus. Definitely, several important additions to talk about in that last game, and then we're going to expect some similar moves that perhaps will be ambiguous in this game as well. We've got Chris May back in studio. Chris, do you have anything juicy for us from out on the tournament room floor?
Sorry, no, I was checking my Tinder feed.
Really? I'll do that shortly.
No, I don't have anything other than that I just walked past Jesse Day, who is 4-0 this morning, which is a pretty awesome run, and may mean that if these two keep beating each other,
he'll be right back up.
Yeah, we'll get another few games with him, which would be good actually. He's a very strong player, and I like seeing him play. I think he's very thoughtful. No, this is a quicker return to the table from Mark than I'm used to in the tournament, so I think he might have had the hurry up from Michael Tang.
It's also possible he's finally relaxed a bit and is a little more okay with being up there, now that he's been up there quite a few times.
So he's about his 7th game with Nigel. Ouch.
You know, this is not something that I don't think you can relate to either. You know, I certainly can't. You know, having so many games on board one that you eventually just settle in and relax and just have no nerves related to being watched. I know certainly. If I had a few games,
that's definitely a thing. Yeah.
I'd be a little more okay with it, I think, after a few in a row, but only a few people in the game can relate to this. Nigel, obviously, the most prime example, but Mark is one here, and in North America, Jesse is certainly one of those players who is well adjusted to annotation and has had more than his share.
Absolutely. I'm just seeing if we've got current standings on the website. I think that we maybe don't. So I am going to just go over to the tournament staff and see if I can get a printout of the round 23 standings, which I will relay to you guys as soon as possible. And there's a bit of small talk between Mark and Nigel, so we've got some dead air to fill. Oh no, they're off now. Great. Well, I'm just going to pop out so I can get the printout.
Sounds good. I'm going to check my Tinder feed while you do that. No new matches for me. Sad day. I'm going to have to do some more swiping at lunchtime.
Best of luck.
So, do you have any standings coming for us, Chris?
Actually, the website is showing current standings.
Perfect.
I just, for some reason, hadn't loaded them successfully.
Yeah,
so
let's have a look.
Yeah, as we can see. Oh, hello. Mark Nyman's got a lovely rack there to open with. He's got Anymore and Romney at least. So, an early advantage for Mark in this game.
Anymore plays nicely.
Meanwhile, Nigel, the UW's just ruined his chances of a counter bingo, I think. Anyway, just to run you through the standings quickly, of course you can find these on causewaychallenge.com, clicking through the results. But we have Nigel a game clear of the field after that win against Mark in the last round. That means that Jesse Day, with his unbeaten run today so far, has come up to second, which he shares with Mark. They both have 16 wins, and Jesse's got a much bigger margin.
Yeah, that was the but.
Then David Eldar has made it up to fourth, along with Toucher. They both have 15 wins, 2 games behind the lead. And another 3 players are clustered on 14. That's Common, Andrew Fisher and Irande Saidu of Nigeria, 3 extremely strong players on 14 wins. And Dave Wiegand in 9th place with 13.5. He's 3.5 games behind Nigel.
And it looks like he's had some tough games. He just lost by 24 to David Eldar, so that was a hotly contested one as well.
After that, we've got a big bunch of players on 13 wins. I'm just going to click through to Dave Wiegand. I think he might have had a bit of a hard luck tournament, to be honest. I think he's had a lot of close losses. Of course, he started with a 0.5 out of 2 with a 2-point loss and a tie in his first 2 games. And he's had a 10-point loss to Common, an 8-point loss to Mark, and just a narrow loss to David Eldar. So Dave Wiegand could well be on the top table. A few late draws had gone his way, I think.
And there's still luckily time for him to pick up on those. And we got lots of games left. Mark has opted for Bayerman to start.
Nice play. Trying to make the blank as inflexible as possible for Nigel.
And Nigel's going for Warish, keeping a U left over. Nice play.
Also very nice.
More or less a low bonus score.
Yep, no question that that's the correct play. Nigel seems to have made it instantly. Very nice draw. Cool.
Let's come down later with that, yeah.
There are some other options. I mean, through the E is better with recounts, so we're not going to actually see Courants twice.
Yeah.
It's funny how those words come up in bunches, isn't it?
Yeah, I found, this is the Murphy's Law thing kicking in. If I don't check a rack on a questionable decision I had in the game, it comes up again, and then I smack myself for not checking, because then I don't know the next game. Of course, when you check it, it never comes up again.
Yeah, I've been there.
So I've learned to make sure that whenever there's a position where I want to know all the possible bonuses, usually when there's a blank involved, I check it so that should it ever somehow come up again, I'll be ready.
When I was very, very new in the football tournament, that happened to me with Nerolis, and I didn't know the 7.
Yeah.
Didn't check it, got it again 2 games later. Didn't get it.
That's the worst.
Obviously, still didn't know it.
And it's stuck in your mind ever since.
Yep. It's weird. I had an exceptional memory for past games as a teenager, which really has deserted me in my late 20s and early 30s. I'm not sure it can't just be the alcohol.
Perhaps the doobie or other things.
I remember very well that when I'd only played perhaps say 300 or 400 tournament games ever, I knew each of them in great detail, almost the score and details about the position. And some people have memories like that across their whole tournament career. I certainly don't anymore.
Certainly not I. People have talked to me about games where I played something against them, or they missed something against me, and it's not my head and smile with a vacant look in my eyes, I'm sure.
It tends to be only the more memorable or unusual positions that I remember long after that now.
Yeah. Karen Richards, for example, who is here playing in the tournament, she always tells me each time I see her that she smacks herself as she had backfish on her rack in a different order, and she was remarking to her son after her game with me that she had lost, that she was so close to catfish, and she said, I have a B instead of a C. Wouldn't it have been nice if catfish had played? And Alistair looked at her with a blank look on his face, and he's like, catfish is valid.
Oh, look at this beautiful play from Nigel.
Sparage, wow.
Board was made for that. Keeps UR, which is not great, but you're not going to complain with the rack that he has.
Certainly not.
Really lovely move. And Marlon Hills made the comment, this is where we could justifiably criticise Mark's time management, and thanks for reminding me, Marlon. I did want to make that point going into this round. Well, one of the lessons from the last 2 games is, wow, Mark really needs to give himself a bit more time to these close positions towards the end of the game. You know, he got away with one 2 games ago. The last game he didn't get away with it, and that Larder play that he made was actually crucial. Actually, you know, he had the right idea. He needed to defend that A column, but he could have defended it with a number of other players that weren't Larder.
And with time, he'd find it.
With time, he could have given himself some insurance for that end game, and he left himself without any. E-E-E-I-O-R. He could have given himself better tiles than that.
So and not even just better for going out in 2, but better for defending against setups like
that's
the one
right.
Nigel made.
So I think Mullen makes a good point.
Mark has got options like Gappo underneath Svaraj. Trying to see if something reaches from the R and Svaraj down, but I'm not immediately seeing it.
There's also Gateau up top, H1.
Oh yeah, Gateau.
Don't really see a case for it. That's that strong. Seems like just playing tiles. Well, I'm sure he'll see Gateau.
Oh, Ragtop, that's even better. Yeah,
Ragtop's nice, yeah. So nothing to criticise so far this game, certainly.
Yeah.
Very accurate play from both players so far. However, Nigel, early deficit. Mark's open, bingo. And Nigel's got one of these racks that points in 2 different directions. The X, the U, and the G all tell you to play off and try and score a bit. And the other tiles tell you to play for a bingo. So he's going to try and maximise this over 2 turns, which is one of Nigel's key middle game strategies. However, he's got a bit of a problem because the X doesn't really play anywhere friendly with Lux or XU or any of the other obvious words that you can make with the X and his other tiles. So interested in your suggestions, guys, for this play. Doesn't seem like a straightforward decision to me, and he hasn't played anything straight away. Is he forced to ruin his rack here? Or is he forced to keep S and X together, for example, which you normally don't want to do? I'm yet to see anything at all that I like for this turn. XU above recounts, but pretty ghastly. Rue for 27 down the bottom. Okay, I think that's the best
yeah, I'd seen that as well.
So
I wasn't sure about how good it was, but yeah, that's certainly an option as well.
I mean, it knocks out some bingo lines.
Yeah. Except this is Nigel's turn. That's the thing.
Actually, yeah, positionally, just having another quick look at the board, knocking out those bingo lines is a bit significant. It's not as bingo friendly as it looks from a distance.
Yeah, the board's actually not great that way. So that was basically my hesitation with Rue, was so much it blocks.
So 1 tile fish of the X. Yeah, so the chat's now turning on Rue as a player, and I think that the case against it is stronger than it initially looked.
It looks like he's playing it.
He's playing it.
All right. Well, there you go. That's interesting.
He obviously didn't think that the U-G-L-E-R-S combo was worth fishing with there, and I can kind of see why, because you know, even though it's a 1 tile play, it's still obviously a fish, and Mark can parallel ragtop pretty easily and defend against especially all 7s. And that would slow Nigel's scoring power down a lot. So one sees the line after Axe as being not that favourable to Nigel. Rue is kind of score and leave play.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit anti-positional. So we'll see what happens. Nigel couldn't have it all there. He's got a half decent pickup with Elegies. don't think it plays. So we'll see what happens here. Mark's got a bit of a creaky rack.
He's got obliges.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Probably likely to stay on the board.
From Mark's point of view, he's got to declutter some of these vowels here. I'm trying to think of scenarios where Nigel's bonus would be blocked. I mean, Oriad, I guess, technically would keep 2 E's, but I'm not sure I would go for that yet, looking at the board.
As Mark, playing as Mark here, I'd be extremely tempted by a 3-vowel dump, and there are a couple of available. Aero is available from G12. And that gives nothing back to Nigel at all. You know, it's actually really quite hard to bingo on that board after Aero. In fact, Nigel's got one, but that shouldn't bias the appraisal of the move. You know, a bingo through the B is not all that likely. So I very much like Aero as a play for Mark. DEER is a perfectly good leave. And it gives him flexibility to manage the board on the next play. He might even be tempted by OGEE, but that probably sacrifices too many points. ADER is a beautiful leave, but it's a bingo leave and it's not really a board for 7. So I think Aero with the extra points has it over OG. What do you guys think?
We're getting Toya. So similar idea. He's scoring, but he's opening the board.
He's opening the board and he's going to get hit.
So now elegies goes down, not just obliges.
I have to say, if I'm playing off O, E, and A there, I'm absolutely playing Aero with a 60-point lead. What do you guys think? Case for Toya? I think I'm going to class that as a mistake by Mark, unless I'm corrected by the chat.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I definitely would not have played that. I understand he's doing it for points, and I guess not worrying about closing the board, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary. It needlessly opens things up.
He picks the S, but he won't be using it, at least not there. Unless Nigel decides obliges is a better play. Jealousies, which we didn't notice. Jealousies is also available, but he's got elegies. Yeah. Mark is left to balance his rack for a second time, as far as I can tell. The duplicate E and O clearly have to go. Well, the duplicate O has to go.
Yeah, and I was looking underneath X to see if anything reached over for EXO and other such plays, but I'm not seeing anything.
Now, no one from the chat has spoken up in defense of Toya.
So I'm going to guess that's a case closed.
And so now a very, very tight game. Mark with a 6-point lead. Nigel was going to bingo anyway on that turn, but the exchange certainly hasn't helped Mark. And if Nigel gets a good rack here, Mildewy is not a bad rack at all, but luckily for Mark, doesn't go. Let's hope for his sake that he doesn't open a spot for it.
Kenji's saying it's very possible that Nigel has picked up that Mark Nyman's not doing much in the way of restriction, and that could explain some of Nigel's weirdness. And I'm quoting you on it. Sorry, Kenji.
Don't quote me on this at the start of the chat comment. Right, so the instinctive response to a rack of the type that Mark has here is to basically just play off E and O, or if there's no way good to do that, play off E, O, and one consonant, most probably D. And I'm now just scanning the board to see where that's going to happen. I mean, 15J is a possibility, the OE there to just kind of restrict possible 6-tile scoring plays that Nigel might have with his random rack. And, that leaves the M column available for bingos. And the B is not a terrible starting tile either. He might not like that much, and I'd understand why. So he is scanning for something better. But come on, Mark, you can't afford to spend 3, 4, 5 minutes on this turn.
Yeah.
Strategically, it's not a complex move. You just need to pick a move and settle on it. So he needs to move on. I mean, he's got into time trouble 2 games in a row, and that's hurt him in the last round. M6 Do being suggested, but he looks like he's going to go for Vo, and look, I can't argue with that at all.
Accomplishes what he needs to do, which is to declutter the vowels in particular.
And he hasn't left mildewy on, which is very important. So I don't know. Sometimes I waste time on racks like Nigel's got because I just can't see past mildewy.
It's really tough to get over it.
Yeah. But I guess he's going to be looking for C column plays, hooking the M or W onto that HO. And I'm having a little trouble seeing a good one that puts the Y on D15. If you guys have spotted one, do type it into the chat. Wild is being suggested, WYLED, and looks as good as anything. Doesn't give much away, which is kind of nice. Nigel knows that Mark has done a 2-tile fish though, so he might be a bit worried about the M column. We've seen him go out of his way to play defensively against fishy moves more than once in this tournament already, so that might be on his mind. Defending the M column won't be easy, however, with this set of letters. And that may make him conclude that scoring play is optimal, and indeed he has Wild set up on his rack, so good chance we'll see that go now. That's basically a standard middle game move. However, from the placement, it looks like he might be playing middle right on the board, so I'm curious to see. Yep, he's playing defense. Wild goes down for fewer points in a defensive position, so Nigel thinks it's important to play defense against 2-tile fishes. That's something I'm very strongly picking up over the play in his last two days.
Yeah.
And Mark's got another tempter. Picked up 2 vowels, which isn't very welcome.
In an ideal world, he'd have an open eye for air radios, but that is not available.
Oh, nice. They're all on Nigel's rack.
Yeah.
Bit of a grim. Well, no, I can't say grim. Triple I's no good, but there are bailout options there.
I was looking at Nigel's rack and thinking, well, it's not feminazi, it's almost mini-Nazi if there's an N, but that's not actually a word.
I don't believe so. And Mark may be obliged to play fishily again, but the board is tightening around him as he does this. So it's a less comfortable 2-tile fish if he chooses to do it than on the previous turn. Ed, of course, takes the S, but that's not a great bingo line. It's far less points for your bingo and far more counterplay than the M column would have been. So he probably doesn't like the 2-tile fish at all here, and may be looking for points. May even be looking at Oriads, although I wouldn't do it because of the S at 15-0.
And in the chat, it's been suggested that perhaps Nigel does more things reflective of the opponent across from him than perhaps was first thought. And yeah, I'd have to agree. I think one of the marks of what turns someone from being a good player to a great player is that you not only know what's right in general, well, right quotation marks, since that's always kind of debatable, but factoring for opponent's strengths and weaknesses along with an understanding of word knowledge and strategy. That's what makes you remarkable, really.
I agree. I think Nigel plays the opponent quite a lot. And You know, these guys have played dozens and dozens and dozens of tournament games against each other over a very long time period, over which Nigel himself was getting better and better. You know, Nigel wasn't the player in 1999 that he is now. And these guys have been playing since at least the late 90s. So Nigel's not only been learning about the game, but he's been learning about all of his opponents. And you know he remembers games in great detail, so he has a wealth of information to draw on about Mark Nyman's play.
yeah.
So Mark has gone for the two-tailed fish, hasn't created any new lines, or none worth speaking about with that play, but it is quite a high-scoring two-tailed fish, so he keeps the scoreboard parity and hoping for something decent with this Dosa leave. There are really only two bingo. Oh, well, no, the RO actually is handy in that leave because of the chance of a pro bingo from 15H as well. That's a little bit of icing on the cake there. So there are decent-ish bingo chances for Mark on this board, though I'm not really wild about it. I guess it's quite hard to defend the end column. So Scotia for Mark Nyman, playable down the end column.
Not quite proceeds, it's close.
Yeah, Percoids being the only in the eights.
Joe and Zen, scores well.
Yeah, Nigel happy enough with the 35-point lead and not opening up further opportunities. He knows that this isn't an ideal bingo board for Mark, and he's not too worried about being hit with high-scoring counterplay with D's at HO or anything like that, because he knows Mark's keeping bingo tiles. Mark is in fact keeping a D, but it's moot because he now has Scotia, which I think he's obliged to play, even though it's a little bit unattractive.
The nice thing with Scotia, at the very least, is he's not offering anything blatant in terms of returned lanes. When he puts down Scotia there, the C is right next to the triple word score, and I didn't see how many H's are gone.
I think they most. There's one on the board in Wearish. I think one's unseen.
Oh, there's one. Okay. Yeah. So then, there's the potential to fire back.
But at least it can't go up north because Ed's blocks. So you sort of need an H or an E.
To make it
or
more
both
damaging.
to really hurt this. So as you say, it could be worse. And Mark now takes the half bingo lead.
Nigel has a D for the show.
He's done not to draw that. Really, but actually I'm not sure he can make much of it. Admit is very nice.
Yeah. That looks pretty standard to me.
That looks strong, yeah.
And no S's left either, which is great.
Right, so the case blank is potentially a very important tile in what's shaping up as another close game. This board is now, the B's been taken out, the pro line is still there, but it's not that easy to hit, and the row 2 is hardly even a bingo line. You need to end with a heavy letter.
Well, C for icy words is common enough, but interesting. Nigel's going for iambist.
Okay.
Blowing it wide open up there. Curious.
I'm trying to work out what to say about iambist because I'm really quite surprised. I haven't added the score up, but it doesn't look as if it could have scored much more than admit. I mean, he keeps the D. Guys, how much, I don't know, if anyone's got Quackle openers entering the game live, I'd be curious to know what the score difference is between iambist and admit, because well, the chat loves iambist, and I'm not really warmed up to it yet, so I'd quite like the detailed reasoning behind Iambist, if anyone cares to type it out.
I'm wondering, maybe since Mark is just bonused, it's basically a random rack. So I am just floating an eye up there. Perhaps it's not so bad because it is a completely random rack. There's no inference to be made. So I guess that's one thing in its favor, is it's less of a problem to open like that than it would be with a rack with inferences. That's one suggestion, perhaps.
Right, but the scores are pretty close. The leaves are reasonably close, BI versus D. And positionally, with no S's in the bag, admit isn't realistically going to get hooked for a high-scoring play to the triple. You need the blank to do it. Does leave a floating A next to B10. Lukenji says, Iambist creates a line. The D for Joe is still there. The I is duplicated and BI is kind of gross here. Well, I can't argue with any of those points individually. It's really just the counterplay that concerns me. To me, that's kind of a big deal in a close board, in a close middle game position like this. I suppose it takes initiative on the board, forces Mark to play in a certain place. Yeah, I mean, this is a move that's very hard to comment on in real time. I would love to have an hour to look at that position and look at Iambist versus admit. And
wow, Mark has got a nice play of heat with the CH hook on the next turn to score a lot.
Cool.
It also takes out the threatening E and Scodier to score highly down low at the same time, which is nice for him to control the board some.
And also, sorry, I'm going to stop harping on about admit versus Iambist shortly, but just in response to Kenji's point about the D, well, admit was about the best move you were ever going to get with that D. So, saving the D is kind of counterintuitive when you already have the move you want there, as far as I can tell. But, still Nigel does not agree and plays Iambist and has not been punished for it.
So he's playing Bird and Joe, keeping GILO.
Right.
And now that Mark doesn't need that D for over there to score anything, Heat and CHOEDE ID is looking pretty good.
Or he could choose to play bottom right.
He could.
I don't know which is more.
Either way, the board's going to be sealed up.
Yeah. Interesting observation that debt is, or something that holds the H, could be played bottom right.
True.
To keep the H for scoring power. That's actually not trivial at all on this board.
Good.
Because, it's actually pretty closed. I doubt we're seeing any more bingos in this game, because no player is trailing by enough to want to open lines with a blank unseen. So maximising quite good scores over 2 turns is a very, very viable strategy here. We may see Theek coming down here, I think, from Mark Nyman. Yeah, he's just gone all out for points.
Fair enough. It does what he needs to do, which is keep a lead, and yeah, it's good.
That is going to be a very tough deficit for Nigel to come back from. And in fact, having just said a couple of turns ago that the scores are close enough that no player will be opening bingo lines, now of course suddenly that's changed. Nigel's almost a bingo down, and with a blank in the bag, and that kind of rack with very few points on it, I feel that his most logical path to victory instinctively is play for the blank and open a line. That's easier said than done here, because there aren't any lines open right now, and Mark will be very keen to defend any openings that Nigel might make. Mark has the blank and a 7 should a line open up for it. So all of a sudden, after that play of Thick from Mark Nyman, this game looks pretty bleak for Nigel Richards.
And interestingly, I think it'll pull him back, and then with the higher spread, assuming he wins, Jesse would actually be in first. We are joined in studio by someone who has just finished his game, Andrew Fisher of Australia. Andrew, I'm going to hand over the headset to you and let you chime in.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Jesse. How are we doing? Looks like Mike is ahead.
Hi Andrew, yeah, Mark has just played Thick for 60 odd points in what was previously a dead level middle game position.
Wow.
So Nigel's now saddled with this quite awkward rack and a very, very close board with almost a bingo deficit and only 5 tiles in the pool. There is a blank unseen to him, so he can play for that, but it's going to be extremely hard for him to set up opportunities that Mark can't just close straight away.
It's a really nice board for Mark.
In fact, Mark now has the blank.
Yeah.
Did
Mark win the previous game against Nigel?
Nigel won in the last round with
It was a
an
beautiful
amazing
setup.
end game.
He played Octa and had a D in his rack, and Mark couldn't block it when he played I for like 40 something to go.
Yeah.
It's great.
So if anything striking for Nigel jumps out here, I mean almost the only thing I can think of is an opening that can only be hit with the blank and gambling on drawing that blank, but even that looks like a massive long shot. Something like GON, hoping to get a blank and use it for Aegon, but I mean that's going to be underlapped, so it's
OI.
Kenji says
9B.
OI as well.
Oh,
Where's that one, sorry?
9B, I think.
Do you mean OU?
Yeah, but OI.
No, just the O.
Oh, just the O, yeah.
Or the U as well, I guess, yeah.
OU has gone down,
Easier to block.
so Nigel didn't have any better ideas.
Yeah.
And Fumbled is going to go down for a ton of points here, so don't you love seeing a move like that from your opponent when you're sitting on a rack like Fumbled? Tension goes straight out. So, we can call this one. Mark Nyman wins big, and that's great for the tournament.
What's the standings?
Do we know if Jesse Day had a win in that round?
I've not seen that.
I'll check for you.
Yeah, that would be great. He might still be playing. We're being told that the rack must be wrong by Kenji, who's astutely noted that both M's are already on the board. Guys in the crew, would you mind, if you can hear us, getting the camera shot on Mark Nyman's rack and correcting it if necessary? We think there must be an error there. Meanwhile, Nigel did not get the blank he was looking for and instead holds the Q, which will avail him naught.
Touch is currently at 342.77 against Jesse Day.
Field is closing up, which is good.
Yeah, so if Toucher wins that, we're going to see yet another Nigel versus Mark matchup straight after lunch.
Yeah.
And they've been very interesting games, as I think everyone watching will agree. Many moves to talk
Oregano
about.
end game. Just tell me about that.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Essentially, Nigel had the opportunity to empty the bag with a play of Oregano, and Mark at that time only had 1 second time left on his clock. Now Oregano did allow Mark to respond with a counter bingo outplay, but allowing for the time difference, Nigel still won by 1 point, and he had time to do that. Instead, he played off 2 tiles, which I can only assume was the optimal play if time weren't an issue in the game. So in effect, he declined to take advantage of the position with Mark only having 1 second left, which I think almost nobody else would have done. So it's almost like we would all have won the game and I'd lost it.
Yeah.
Very rare scenario. So Mark's rack has now been corrected, but it really doesn't matter. He's probably just doing due diligence here, but honestly, he can just play a
Flub or something.
well, Flub may just leave a bingo line up top, but with Fur, I mean, defensively he can play it wherever. He's not under pressure here in any way whatsoever. But that oregano play was actually quite deep. It was a real flurry. Mark had no time left, and Nigel was playing very fast as well to keep the pressure up. And then interestingly, not exploiting the time difference. Nigel was a bit cagey when I asked him about it. He sort of said, 3 tiles in the bag, I hadn't worked it all out, which is standard Nigel deflection.
Right. The flub is safe, flub and boy, because there's no possible bingo parallel to the F.
Yeah.
And again, I suppose the P could go there. PO, I guess.
Mark takes absolutely no chances and plays bundle. And who can blame him? I mean, that's the kind of play I make, if I'm up against a player like Nigel and my head tells me that he can't win, but my heart forces me to make a move like bundle, maybe sacrificing a bit of spread in the end game. So this game is going to peter out a little bit
on his record.
Yeah, I wonder if he played for that. Doesn't go. Actually, I wonder if bundle might have been designed to knock out Nigel's highest scoring Q play as well.
Yeah, I guess so.
So it's going to be a win for Mark Nyman. Keeping the tournament, keeping Nigel from running away, which he's threatened to do so many times already. Every time he's been a game clear, someone has pulled him back. And this series of games has been absolutely absorbing this morning, as I think everyone watching the feed will agree. Look away for 1 second and Nigel's played Lignian. Is that a setup for his cue?
Yeah. Ready for long.
Wow. That's so nice though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 places to play it for 20. Such a quackle endgame. Hardly anyone finds that. Well, maybe I'm being too nice to Nigel there. I think quite a few people actually might find that. But it's still an impressive play.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Mark Nyman for not going over time this game.
Speaking of it too soon.
King Nigel's going to slow play him, just pass a few times.
Nigel will just play QI, and then Mark needs to deal with the moves.
Would you guys ever consider doing that? Passing when your opponent's just purely passing when your opponent's stuck with consonants at the end of the game to try to get another 10 points out of them? Or is that crossing the line ethically?
It's
Jerry Carter says it's crossing the line.
I
think I agree. It's well within the rules, but I think I agree. I would never do it.
Sam Candimansi once warned me that if I did that, there'd be trouble.
I'm sure there would.
I played 2-minute games growing up online with no overtime possible, and actually passing was often the thing people would do to try and make you lose a game if you had a lead, so I'm used to it. To me it's completely plausible. I never did it, but it's totally plausible.
I think something's gone slightly awry with our Quackle input. Maybe.
Mike must have made a play. Nigel went out.
Well, it would have been the QI. Right, and Nigel goes out with N2 on. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to the 2Fs. F, I guess.
I think Henry may have been asleep at the wheel briefly, but we're getting the last few plays
So,
in now.
in sum, that Thiek play proved to be the death blow in that game, and there was nothing Nigel could realistically do to come back there. And I think table runners tended to lag behind the other tables during the morning, meaning that most of the other players are comfortably off on their lunch break now, and I think we're all keen to get there as well. So I think we're going to thank Andrew Fisher for joining us in the booth, and I'm going to hand back to Jesse to wrap up the commentary for the morning's play.
All right. Thank you very much. much, Andrew, for joining. You're welcome anytime. Thanks for coming back. So with that, we're not sure what happened between Jesse and Tatcha, but Tatcha was leading by about 60 or 70 points. So going to suspect it'll be Nigel and Mark still at 1-2. Actually, Eldar.
No, it will be
Eldar and Tatcha.
It will be
someone else in second.
No, it will be Nyman in second, I think, unless Jesse won.
Oh wait, yeah, 17 and 17. Never mind.
So we're expecting to see another Richards Nyman clash after lunch, which will be a direct King of the Hill, won't be lagged, they'll do the pairings fresh. And an outside chance that if Jesse Day won his game, it will be a Nigel versus Jesse Day match.
Yeah, so, you never know.
Jesse is now 6 points ahead of Thatcher.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
So they're in a close end game, but we're not going to hang around long enough to tell you the result, you'll just have to come back and find out.
So we're going to have lunch here back at 2:30, I believe, or did you say 2:15?
2:15.
Okay, we're back at 2:15 local time. It is 1:21 local time, so just under an hour from now we'll be back to resume with coverage. Till then, Jesse and Chris signing off. Thanks for tuning in.